Here we go again. Another day, another week. I've been so. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been really lazy and I haven't posted any shorts like the past week and a half, 2 weeks.
I've
Cause
not noticed.
yeah, I,
I only notice when they randomly show up in my YouTube feed.
yeah. Well, I haven't done it for, and I can tell that our numbers kind of dipped a little bit, and I think it's probably because the algorithm doesn't like that I only posted like one thing a week for 2 weeks.
Well, I looked at the shorts that you were posting, and I don't know who left some of them on overnight, but some of them have like 1,000 or more. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there's like I want to say there's three or four that have well over 1,000. Um,
Well, hopefully it inspires
Again,
them to come actually do something with it.
well,
That's how shorts work, though, right? Like, I mean, Bly's got some TikToks that are like over 1 million, but he still has basically the same, more or less, followers and concur. I mean, it's just shorts
right,
sometimes can pop off, and a few people it'll pop up in there. Depends if YouTube decides to throw it in there,
right.
um, their algorithm. But
Let's see. Yeah, this one has 1,000, one has 859.
nice. That's surprising, especially for what we do. Like, it's not. It doesn't surprise me when video game stuff pops off because a lot of people will want to watch like a clip of a video game or like,
Yeah.
oh, look at this. But when it's like an actual communication thing, but I'll put sure by my Gray Cliff cigar that we're smoking today. I don't remember the actual name of the cigar. I've been smoking the 10-year and the 20-year anniversary blends. This is not either one of those, but it's still, I love Gray Cliff, so delicious. But
I always wonder if it's the thumbnail to some degree, right? Because like this one has it's you and evil, and it's about social media lies, unmasking fake happiness, and finding the truth. And it just says commit suicide in the middle, because apparently that's what you were talking about, right?
that's
Um,
funny.
and so, I can't help but wonder if that had a part to play in the
Yeah,
that's got a
it could
thousand
have.
views, right? And like it could be someone just left it on overnight or something, but
Yeah, or
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah, or like YouTube does do it sometimes. They'll just shove, like, let's say one person left it on and it gave me 50 views, but that made
Yeah.
YouTube go, "Ooh, this might have some activity to it. Let's shove it out to a bunch of other people," and it kind of went like that.
Unfortunately, Kevin is naked only has three. Such a shame.
That is a shame. It's all right. That can take off anytime too. Because people, the funny thing is about shorts, they are one of those things. Like if someone discovers it later, and they're like, "Oh, this is funny," then all of a sudden it'll pop off. So you just the idea really, the reason I use shorts more than like even getting our content out. I mean, it's kind of nice to get the content out there, but it's just to keep the algorithm. Like, unfortunately, the algorithm matters more than even quality of content. Sadly, that's about how it works.
Feed the beast.
Yeah.
Give it the slop.
Yep. It is an unfortunate side of the modern version of social media entertainment. But so anyway, how's your week been for all the people? I mean, I
A
know
good week,
I've
bro.
been with you, huh?
Yep. Since rematch came out, that's been a fun like 2 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
been good. Some soccer.
I
Uh,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was gonna went out with the kids, played some soccer with some of the alumni at the school I teach at on Wednesday. After I did leg day that
Mm-hmm.
day, so my whole body is pretty wrecked. Um, what else? Gym in the mornings. Apart from that, just chilling,
Same old.
hanging
Yeah.
out.
That's kind of what I like about rematches. It's very addictive. You want to play it every day, but also I feel like after about 2 hours, you're kind of good. You're like, whew, I am exhausted. I'm kind of burned out. I'm ready to put this down and get food or do something else with my day. It's not one of those
Yeah.
games where I think it's just like high focus, high concentration that it kind of exhausts you, which is good because that way you don't have days where you spend 12 hours straight just sitting
Yeah.
there playing the video game.
And like we've talked about, the games flow so fluidly together that it's
Mm-hmm.
like you almost go play to play to play to play
Yeah.
with almost no breaks, right? It all feels very
Mm-hmm.
similar. So, um, yeah, that brings itself to a decent short chunk where if you go too long, it starts to feel like a more of a drag, right? It does.
Yeah.
But if you keep healthy chunks, I don't plan on us not doing these little, 2 1.5 hour sessions every once in a while. It'd be
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, and for people who are watching, I mean, I'm assuming everybody's technically watching because it's YouTube, but that's evil. But I think he may have went to go buy furniture or something. So I don't know if he's going to pop back in or not. I'm just going to leave him there. Doesn't really affect the visuals that much. It's just there's an extra square at the bottom instead of him. It's a base square with a stork, I believe. The circle picture of a stork. So he's with us in spirit, even if not in body.
If the video is randomly cut into two, you'll know he came back and did not know we were recording.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. He will say something very aggressive. Now I think because I told him why we were going to start around 11, so he probably in his brain knows that we might already be. We'll find out. Yeah, or maybe I'll leave it in and really get some views.
Oh my God.
But all right.
How was your week, Ben? How are you doing?
Oh man, man, so good. I have gotten back onto eating healthier. I'm headed back in the. I took about a month and a half off after I had a month where I was eating super healthy, but I wasn't losing any weight because my body was just like trying to adjust to it. And so I put a little bit back on, but that's okay because that's kind of how it works. Like you put a little bit, and then your body kicks back in, and you start losing the weight as fast as you were before, and it makes up for it. I didn't put a lot back on. It was like 5 pounds over 2 months, so it wasn't like I didn't put the. I lost 35 pounds, and I put 5 of it back. So if I can do 35 and then put 5, 35, 5, I will gladly take that trade off.
Right.
Well, I have started eating healthy again. So that's been, having to get reacclimated to cooking all my meals and trying to, and even if I eat out, it's got to be real lean, healthy, not greasy stuff. Trying to think, I mean, I'm trying to, for those of you that know, I'm still, while I'm doing another job for this Remote Warrior LLC, which actually is a great organization. I'm very happy with them, but they're just getting started. So, it's more of a volunteer position that will eventually turn into something more. As far as like pay, I still work about as hard as I still give them all my expertise and I look up grants and do all kinds of stuff for them. But by the way, you should look them up. They're a great organization. They help remote like military people and CIA and anybody who's had to deal with war from a distance or a remote situation, but they still have like. If they're watching people get blown up on a daily basis, it does still have a psychological effect.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where they're trying to like reach in, and they're actually applying it to even people who are regular PTSD holders and like some stuff. Like they're starting to try to include their big thing that they're doing. That one thing they're pushing now is they're trying to include house modifications into the psychological health stuff that the government already funds. They're like, instead of paying, because the government spends about $500 million a year on psychologists and all these like brain programs and stuff that don't really work. Excuse me. And instead, they're trying to get them to take some of that money and put it on house modifications that basically create environments that don't trigger a lot of the PTSD. It's like it just helps, and these are environments that are proven to help calm people down, keep the suicide rates lower, keep the freakouts lower. They've actually been proven to work, and they're like, why are we wasting this money on stuff that basically doesn't work and that we can see numerically? Going to therapists and going to the VA doesn't do anything for them, but doing these adjustments to their house would, because that's where they spend most of their time, is in their house. So if you can make that a calmer, more adaptive environment, it will help them. So that's their thing they're pushing now, and it looks like it's gaining some traction. So that's good. But yeah, so I've been working with them. I've been doing the reason I even got into that is because I was talking about I'm currently in a part of the summer semester because I'm just getting my doctorate while I'm doing that. It's or a second one, just because I decided I didn't want to just do nothing while I waited. Also, funding's not bad. Helps, pays for cell phone bills and stuff. But the summer is truncated. It's 2 weeks shorter than, or actually 3 weeks shorter than all the other. So they have 2 weeks in the middle where the semesters cross over, and normally full-time you would have one main course and another main course in a different term. They cross over for 2 weeks, so you're doubling your full-time workload, and I am in the middle of that right now. So I'm trying to and I was behind in one of the classes. So not only am I doubling the work normally, but I'm also catching up and having to do that before the next. So I've been kind of doing a lot of writing and just, if I'm not playing soccer, I'm writing basically.
Yeah.
But that's cool. You know, I don't know if we talked about it, but my Chinese babe, not Chinese, Singaporean. She she disappeared with
I
the
think
funds.
we did. But
Did
yes.
I know me and you talked about it, but I don't know if we talked
No,
about it on podcast.
I'm 90% sure it was on the last
Okay.
podcast, but
Well, when
I'm
the
only
when the
90% sure.
when I was like, yeah, I'm not looking to invest right now. I'm not going to do not in something she just wanted me to invest myself, go look it up and do it myself. But I was like, I'm neither in a position nor am I willing to take advice just yet when we're like
Right.
a month into a relationship. And she kind of poofed, which I mean I get it. Like I said, there's a lot of women that's a big thing for them, right? Like just financial. They want somebody who's got money and willing to make money and is going to do that and drive for money. And it's like,
I would say that trend is often the case. Yeah.
yeah. So, not brokenhearted or anything. Kind of, again, we talked about this before. I was entering that with a very, I wasn't planning on it. It wasn't like I was out there looking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, we'll see how this goes.
Right. Enjoy it while it's there. See where it goes.
Exactly.
Right. Play
So,
it by ear. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm back on the. Hey, Asian ladies, I'm back on the market now. All you hot Asian chicks who watch this podcast.
Yes, many of
Out
you
of the
that
26 people who weekly watch this podcast, I'm pretty sure a
we
few
know
of you
you're there.
Yeah. The only part of that I would say I'm frustrated. She didn't tell me why. She just one day poofed.
Yeah.
I would love to have been like, oh, well, I'm looking for somebody who makes more money, or oh, I was looking for someone who wanted to invest, or I decided I found somebody who was hotter and not fat. Something. Just give me some, instead of just like disappearing, you're like, what the fuck happened? But it's kind of what you expect if you're meeting people online. That's modern dating. Is people just they don't want to deal
Always
with the
crazy
negative
when
part.
People do that,
Yeah.
right? Because people think, oh, well, I'm trying to be nice by not telling them, oh, well, you're just not attractive enough for me, or this or that. But it's like you're really just sparing yourself, right?
Yeah.
The nicest thing you could do for me is tell me what I needed to be or was not, or fill in the situation.
Yeah.
That would be the nice thing to do, but it feels mean to do. I think that happens quite often.
Yeah. And I
It's
mean,
a
I'm
shame.
not
I always hate when I don't get like
some
feedback,
sort of
like
I agree. I mean, it's just like, I would love to know why. Is this just so
do you not
'cause I can
respect
gauge.
that I can handle it?
Yeah.
Like is that what it? Do you think that it's gonna break me down? What
Like,
is it?
Especially I'm in my 40s, lady. I've heard it all. You're not gonna,
All right.
No way. You think I'm that? You think I'm that? You think I'm poor? I am. It's like yeah, no shit. But yeah, no, it's I don't know. It was kind of interesting. So I guess that catches you up on me. You asked me how I was doing, so now we're all cut up.
Cool. Very good.
Speaking of women, there was one thing I saw earlier. So
We got it. We got to not be a manosphere podcast.
Oh no, we're
man.
going.
I
I'm
don't
going
wanna-
full
I don't-
Tate. Let's go.
Oh my god, I don't want to delve. I don't want to be affiliated with
No,
the
no,
manosphere,
no.
I Go ahead.
Yeah. It was just it's because a woman commented on it's a comedian. Well, okay, what it was is I started noticing on these I have a lot of comedians that I watch on social media, watch their shorts, and it feels like women on a consistent basis do something. And it was so this guy was making some comment. I don't even remember what he was talking about. Maybe he was like, oh, had something to do with global warming, but it was a joke. The whole thing was a joke. And her point was, he's right. And I can't remember what else she said, but it's like, plus I was told there would be zombies, but I hate when anybody does this, is they try to add a element of like, oh, this comedian, they're telling the truth right now. It's like, no, because it's like
George Carlin, right? George Carlin did like Irreversible. I don't know if it's damage, but he changed the face of comedy to be definitely far more like modern day philosophers, right?
Yes.
And then so many of them look to comedians for actual like news, advice, stuff like they'll go to the Daily Show, they'll go to Jon Stewart, they'll go to John Oliver, right? And it's like, yes, this is news, but first it's comedy, right? Like
Yes.
uh,
You're not getting.
comedy news.
Yeah, you're not getting a full story. They're not, because an actual debate about it isn't funny and entertaining, right? If they're like,
Yeah.
well, actually, here's some details that change, and an actual debate would not be. You're not giggling and laughing. That's the whole point of a joke, is that it you know. And I don't know. I just, yeah, it does. And what annoys me further is talking about some of the people you've talked about there, and some late night people, like the late night talk show hosts. I think Patton Oswalt does this a lot too. He'll make some statements that are clearly, they think they're making like a good statement. You can tell, like, even though they're making a joke, you can tell that they think they're spitting out some truth at and then when they get corrected on it because they're completely factually incorrect or whatever, they're like the core of their, then they go, oh, it's just jokes. I'm just a comedian. I'm just, it's like, you're playing both sides of the fence there. You're trying to get the benefit of being a philosopher or a news, journalist, whatever. And then when you get caught out on being inaccurate and what you're saying is not true, then all of a sudden you fall back and you try to use comedy, like, oh, no, you can't judge anything I say, because it's like, that's not how you were playing it. I mean, there's plenty of good comedians who do play it that way, right? Like they are up front from the beginning, like, guys, I'm just making jokes. None of what I'm saying is real. Please do not assess anything I'm saying and adapt it to your lives. Like, this is all dumb. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That was just one. Anyway, when I was saying this, I noticed it more and more. It was like a lot of women were the ones posting like, "This is so true," and then like whatever little like quip underneath it that was like, my girl Tina did this, and blah. It's like, no, it's
Fucking
not
Tina.
Fuck Tina. No.
I suspect that men probably like share the same thoughts, but are less likely to post it. Less likely to make the comment. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably just like in their brain go, "Huh, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. Okay, moving on." Right? And then they'll carry it with them, but they'll not have written.
Not admit
out.
it. Yeah, that may be true. They don't have to express it publicly.
Yeah, outwardly. Yeah, exactly.
That may be true.
I don't know. I hate the like you say what Patton Oswalt did. I kind of hate when people do the it's fraudulent, right? It's inauthentic to say, oh yeah, it's just jokes when you knew you were kind of trying to get something.
Yeah,
it's just inauthentic. I just hate it.
I agree. It's at least here on this podcast, that what we're saying we mean, or we will tell you it's a joke, and we're like, oh yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Like I feel like we do a pretty good job of authenticity. Is not our problem. Me and you are very big on being authentic all the time. So
and it, like, correct me whenever I'm wrong. No problem.
Yeah.
Happens at least once a week. My foot goes straight down my throat. So no worries.
Yeah, I wish more people would comment with their thoughts. I mean, no one ever comments on it. I mean, even when we get likes on a video or something, it's like, say something. Be like, oh yeah, no, I like that, or I don't know about this.
Tell me I'm an idiot.
Yeah, do something. Engage to some degree. I don't know if people gave us ideas, like a topic they wanted us to talk about. Because right now, I'm just like, here's shit that I've seen on the internet. But I would,
AI, human nature.
Yeah.
Look at this.
It always,
shit.
well, yeah, that's the thing. Whatever you give us as a topic, it will eventually come back to AI or human nature with us. Like, just get used to it. That's what we're going to talk about. But, or various forms of sexual degeneracy. I think that is also our third category.
That's been a theme. Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. Just comment, like, subscribe, all the things. And that, there's another one that I was looking at that was kind of similar in breadth of how people struggle sometimes to assess reality from TV shows. It was a short, and it showed a guy walking through the rain. It says, me, every time I think about season 1, episode 4 of Mythbusters, about where running in the rain actually gets you wetter than if you walk in the rain. They did like this thing. They did like an experiment, and they proved, I'm going to put big quotes, that walking in the rain gets you less wet than running. So if it's like raining and you run from your car to the store, they're like, oh, you're getting actually wetter, because I think it's like you're also adding forward motion. So some of the rain that would have missed is like hitting because of your motion. I
Yeah.
don't. The thing, and so people are like, oh yeah, I think about that all the time. Yeah, blah. I always walk in, and then someone else pointed out, well, they later did a follow up to that, and they kind of disproved their own thing, and they showed that actually,
Yeah.
like, if you get out of the rain quicker, if you spend less time in the
Right,
rain,
exactly. That's what I was thinking, right? Like it's just
yes,
time spent while water is getting on you, right? Like I
yeah,
understand running, like you're catching more
hmm
as you go with like a bit of drift, right? Or draft of the
yeah.
wind, but uh, like just the time spent surely would cause more.
Well, that's
Yeah.
basically whatever their experiment was the first time. They didn't do enough. I don't know, content, quality control or whatever to make sure
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
figure that part out. And I kind of got that because I think a lot of people really look to stuff like MythBusters. It's like, no, that's entertainment that uses science to entertain. But you got
Yeah.
that's not like a take this tried and true. Did you see, I see people all the time. Did you see that episode of MythBusters? They
Yeah.
proved blah blah. It's like, no, they didn't. None of their experiments are like scientifically
It's true.
viable, like peer review. Like it's not.
I think you're absolutely right. But like, I suppose the question is the alternate is that everyone just doesn't accept things
Yeah,
unless they read it in a scientific paper, which
yeah.
is like
Which I
totally
don't like that either.
unreasonable too,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah. I just
my kids that I teach, right? They remember Lyndon B. Johnson because I tell them about the phone calls from the Oval Office where he's like, "I need more room in my crotch for my balls. I need, and
yeah,
that's how they remember this guy was kind of just a bit slimy, right?
yeah,
Just a
yeah.
bit gross. And I show them a picture of him shaking someone's hand where he's like not even a foot away and he's like towering over him, trying to like overpower this dude in a handshake. And
That's
it's like
funny.
that's how they remember it. Now, is that a perfect picture of the entirety of Lyndon B. Johnson?
No.
No. Does
Right.
it paint what they need for the AP exam? Mostly, right? Because
Yeah.
they realized this guy wanted to be like Franklin D. Roosevelt, right? And he sort of wanted to fill those shoes and do the same exact thing. So they're very similar. But it's like a little trick like that that can work to actually facilitate some of their memory. So I guess it's like I wish people were smart enough to not take everything Mythbusters say and be like they are perfect,
It's
they're
more of like,
flawless.
yes, I think that's what it is. It's like you can kind of use it, but always in your head know that you're taking it with a grain. It's like
Yeah.
it could be wrong. And there's some I feel like practical thinking. Like you were immediately like, I think time
Yeah.
spent would, because that's somebody else pointed that out in the comments. They said, well, theoretically, if if movement speed versus like rain was the equivalent, then you should just be able to stand still and you would be the driest. You would just stand there.
Right.
But obviously, if you stand in the middle of a rainstorm for 3 hours, you're going to be
Get so
drenched.
wet. Yeah.
It's not going to be the same as if you just ran inside and you got a little bit wet. So yeah, it was I don't know. Yeah, I kind of agree with you that it's not all or nothing. I think we're
Yeah.
good at finding a solid middle ground there.
Yeah.
Um, it made me think. So there's a quote that this might get me in trouble, but Dean Cain posted a thing, and it had two. It had two of the real. It had Dylan Mulvaney, and then the one dude that's trans that always does the kid videos. He's like, "Hey kids, don't let your parents see this," or what? That. Do you know the one I'm
I have
talking
no
about?
idea. I don't
Oh,
know who
he's
Dean
really
Cain
famous.
is. I don't know any of this shit.
Dean Cain's the guy that played Superman a while ago, like a long time ago. Okay.
Got nothing for you, man.
Anyway.
I'm 28.
He quoted, he said, "I think neither of you are girls." Some lady commented, "And you were never Superman either." To which he replied, "Correct. I pretended."
Exactly.
Yes, it was like, thank you for making my point. Like, it's just one of those, like, hilarious online moments where somebody thought
Yeah.
they were getting a great, like, zinger in. It was like, or you just proved his point. That's the other option.
Yeah.
I don't know. People online are too much. Go ahead.
I get so annoyed with the amount of like just it's like arguing has really devolved to the point of find the zinger
Yeah.
and he who gets the best zinger wins,
Mhm.
right? And I don't know when it happened, but that's totally what it is, right? As part of my class, I show some of the kids middle ground videos. You ever see those from like Jubilee where they take three, let's say, very far right Republicans and three very
Same
white
thing.
Republicans.
Same thing. No,
I,
just kidding.
I was tempted, and then three very left-wing liberals. Put them together and see if they can agree or disagree on certain topics,
Mhm.
right? Find middle ground. Um, and one of the guys was arguing, oh, well, men have it difficult because men are the ones that have to go to war. Men are the ones that have to go out and hunt and so on. And then the woman on the other side made the point of, oh, well, who set that structure up? To which the answer is, well, men in history have done so. And it bothered me because every student in the class was like, ooh, she got him, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what she said really isn't about the argument at all, right? Whether men or women set that system up is irrelevant for whether it's a good system or not,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I would
The
argue
whole
that
question-
I think nature set it up. That was the system that was set up
possibly
when there was hunters and gatherers, right? Men just physically developed more, so they were able to hunt beasts, which were physically, like, it was so therefore they just always had that system to where men were the hunters and then the women went out and got the berries, right? Like that was, we know that's kind of how like early.
There we go. Even the zinger has failed,
Yeah.
right? If upon further analysis. But I guess, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
about,
I
like,
get.
the
Yes,
question was in
just
the
getting a
system.
zinger doesn't. Yeah.
But every student in the class was like,
Ooh.
right? And I had to kind of tell them afterwards, like, I don't want, you believe what you want to believe about this, right? But I don't want you to think that that was a good counter in this argument, because it wasn't, right?
Right.
It wasn't at all. It wasn't even about the argument that was being had, right? It was a total red herring, just off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And once I established that, they sort of saw what I was talking about, but I think most people wouldn't, right? It took me a second to even think about it and catch it, right? And
I've been making this
master's in
argument for
philosophy, right?
a while, because I actually noticed even conservatives doing this a bit, and it's definitely a social media thing. Because I remember that was a big thing with why Ben Shapiro got big when he did, is because you would see little videos of him getting zingers.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the horses and bayonets clip is the reason Mitt Romney lost, I think. Obama countered him with when he said, "Oh, our Navy is a tenth the size it was," and Obama said, "Oh, well, we also have lots of less horses and bayonets, right? Because the pattern of war is changing."
Yeah.
And that clip, I think, is generally where things, it was clear that Obama was going to win. Same with was it Reagan, when he was like, "I promise not to use my opponent's youth and inexperience against him."
Yeah. When they tried to say he was too old.
Fucking old.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then that was his counter. It's like, it's such a shame, man. These zingers, like, yes, they're funny. Yes, we should laugh at them. Yes, we should enjoy them.
Yeah.
Right. But if you base your beliefs around them, you're fucked.
Part of me thinks the reason it worked is because it showed he still had a sharp mind, which is what you want as a president. So part of me understands that element, because if they're like, he's too old to intellectually do the job.
Sure.
And he's like, oh, really? Well, here's, I'm already this quick. Like, he immediately came up with a zinger.
Maybe
it kind of
cynical of me to think that it was like he had that one in the bank, right? Maybe.
I think so, but I thought somebody like I'd have to watch the clip again, but I thought a journalist asked him like, "Hey, what do you think of?"
It was on stage at a debate, I think.
Maybe that's what it was, and maybe he knew they were going to bring it up. You know what? I guarantee they probably did to some degree.
Yeah.
They may not know exactly what he would say, but they knew that he would make a comment about his age.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Listen, this will," and that's true. That's why. I don't. People talk about presidential debates, but I don't even care about them anymore, because that's all they are now. They're just zinger fests.
Yeah, they're just zinger fests.
No one actually discusses like how policies will work or what. It's just like pure.
It's like streamers farming content to put on the short forms, right? Like it's farming, clip farming.
I mean, you see that. We're talking about clip farming, but even video farming. I watch sometimes Tim the Tap Man and like Nick Merckx this week. I didn't watch hardly any of it, but I watched just a little bit. And when they were doing, they're like, the whole time they were playing on stream, it was so that they could make content for their YouTube channel. Like they were doing a Car 98 challenge, so they could make a video about playing the entire game with a certain gun. And then they did another gun, like an old school loadout or whatever. And the whole time they were doing the whole stream, it was literally, they were basically live streaming themselves and making money, working to make content for their other stuff so they can make money. It was like, it'd almost be like if you watch me video it, which people do now. That is a thing that happens, right? Twitch, they have people who show artists drawing. Like while they're doing drawing, you get to watch them. It's like,
Which is cool. I love that.
yeah, I know. And it's just, but it is kind of in the same vein of like, you know, you can kind of turn anything into people who are in that industry are constantly thinking.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to take it. That's, I think, maybe part of what turned me off to streaming. I mean, again, the second time. I mean, I'm not totally off. I obviously watch it. I think there's good people in it, so I don't want to go. I'm not as anti-streaming as I was before I got into the industry and met really good people.
Yeah.
But there was a part of me that also got into it and go, a lot of these people, most of these people, are not who they are presenting online. They're not in front of the camera.
A lot the way that I think of like advertising, where it's like to some degree you have to kind of be trying to manipulate other people a little bit, right? Maybe not fully, maybe you genuinely have some good intentions, you believe in the product that you're pushing, but there's an element of manipulation, right? For sure, undeniably baked in there. There's some element, and I don't know. That feels not quite right to me. I don't know why. It doesn't sit well.
Even our previous version of this podcast, right? One of the first guests we had on was another streamer, and I think it was either before or after. He was talking about, oh, next time I come on, you know, I'll be a guest, and next time we should have this. We should have an argument about this and start this fight about this and do this. Like the whole thing was, I was like,
and that's clip farming.
Yes,
right?
and I was like, ew, I don't want. It's so disingenuous. Like, no, I don't like pretend fighting and pretend. You know, generating.
But I bet for him it was like that's
what you do.
That's what people in the industry do, right? And that's how you make progress, and that's how you do it.
And so, sadly, it is. I do think that's actually, like we've talked about this before. The You Should Know podcast, the two idiots, right? Like the question is, how much of them is actually that stupid?
The lovable hunks.
Yes, and how much of it is they realized people love watching them be stupid and feeling better than them. And having to comment about how stupid they are, and they realized this causes people to watch and engage and causes our video to be shown to more people. This is what works. So, you know, they almost find topics and engagement mechanisms that will cause it to be like, we're so dumb, you know.
You know, it's remarkable. I took an improv class, right, in college, just to fill out the schedule, have a little fun, whatever. But I took an improv class, and for one of the activities, the guy who was in charge of it, who was one of the actors at UF, he did all the sort of big premiere stuff for them. He was important. He said, all right, we're going to try to do this. It's going to be improv, which is usually fun and joking, but we're going to try to do a sort of dramatic scene, right? Not melodrama, not over the top, but just a real dramatic scene.
Yeah.
And we did a couple of those. And what I noted, because I never would have been a good actor. I'm far too judgmental, right? I was like, is this going well? Is this going poorly? How can I help? How can I not help, right? I was trying to assess the situation constantly to figure out what other people are, you know what I mean? But it wasn't going that well very often, right? These people that were doing these dramatic, we were not good actors, right?
Right.
And yet, there have been other times in my life where I got pranked, right? The ducks all over my classroom, right? And I was trying to figure out who did it, and no one would own up to it. Well, come to find out, people that I was asking did know who did it, but were just lying to me that they didn't, right? Which is fine. It's a prank, right? No big deal.
That's the point, right? Yeah, I was trying to,
Right, no worries. But I was unable to suss that out from them, that they knew, right? They pretended not to know, and I believed them. And so it's like in one situation, you have people that are really bad at acting. In another situation, you have people that are really good at it. How can you tell with any of these people whether it is authentic or not?
Right.
With these two guys on this podcast, is it just genuinely, authentically who they are, or are they good actors now? Right.
Or is it what I suspect is that it's a little bit of both. I think that it started out that's a bit who they're not Rhodes Scholars, you know, they're a little bit on the like frat boy ditzy side, but they exaggerate who they are. I think that's where you do the best acting, is if you can exaggerate parts of your personality that already exist. So you're just having to turn it from an 8 to a 9 or whatever. You know, it's like you're just tweaking it just enough that it becomes a little bit outlandish, but it's still within your range, so it doesn't come across disingenuous. I mean, I think that's probably one of my bigger. Sorry, Kens. Sorry, Ply. That's one of my biggest issues with WWE. Is the acting is shit.
It's really
You know,
bad. Right?
whoa! You know, it's like everything they get hit and they get hit in their toe and their heads start shaking and they're it's like I can't get it. You know, it's impossible for me to get into the story that are supposedly so well written, according to especially Ply. Because the acting is just so fucking cheap. It's like, this is what I expect from like Barney. This is made for like grade schoolers. That's the level of acting.
That is how I feel. That is how I feel.
Yeah, it's like, it's hard for me to just, it's hard for me to retain respect.
Wait, it's all suspension of disbelief, right? Like you have to be able to allow, right?
Yeah.
But that's what it is. I don't have that ability to suspend my disbelief when I'm looking at that, right? It's like the Fast and Furious franchise. Near the start of it, there were some things that I totally could suspend my disbelief
I agree.
for, right? But like when I'm watching like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson hold a helicopter by a chain while the thing's going off the side, you know what I mean? It's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, you've lost me.
They're like, I think there's one of them where they like went into space, and then there's one where they got hooked.
Yeah.
And somehow they drove and drove off of a cliff, but hit like a hook, and it spun them around on this chain that was connected. It was like, there's a point where it's like, come on, this is too much. And
and it's where that point is, right? And I don't know. Maybe it's admirable that they can suspend their disbelief more. Maybe that shows their imagination is greater than ours or something like that. But
yeah, I mean, because I like movies, but no, I don't think that's true, because that's why really good actors get paid well, because they act so well that it makes
it easy to suspend
easier, even if you know they're not. It's easier to suspend belief. So I do think, you know, also the majority of people who watch WWE, not everybody, but the majority are probably males, and it just kind of plays into that men never quite grow up, you know. It's kind of got a little bit of that vibe to it.
If I'm being honest, I feel the same way about anime, right? Like, I think anime is actually doing like real significant damage to people's lives.
I think. Well, see, the problem with anime for me is that it's got too much of a range. You have anime that is made for very childish, like over the top stuff. Then there's some anime that's it's just drawn, but like the writing is great, the voice acting is great. It's made very seriously for adults, but it's like it's all gets mushed into anime, right? It's kind of like as if we included all of Hollywood into one concept. So you would have a Scorsese film and then a Disney Pixar film. Actually, Disney Pixar does better than some of these, but you know what I'm saying, like squished into one.
I do.
So I think it's just that, like, it's not understood exactly the whole range. And so yeah, there are guys who are like, oh, did you see? You know, I can't. I've never been able to do One Piece. I don't think it's horrible, but it's too long. It's too cheesy. I can't. You know, I don't know. It's not my thing. But I know people who are definitely into it. But
I just can't stand how in most animes, as far as I'm aware, the emotions all get dialed up to 11, right? Like no one is ever a little sad or a little happy or just a little of anything. It's like if something doesn't go right, the eyes get huge and watery, and then the tears. Yeah,
it's intended to be exact. Yeah, that's supposed to be humorous, but yeah, I get that. Yeah.
But I fear if there's like a 7-year-old watching it,
they think that's
like these animes that are. I suppose I don't have a problem if you are a fully functioning grown-ass man or woman. You know, do what you want. But like for people, and I think there are many adults that cannot emotionally regulate. I'm gonna be so honest. I think there are so many adults that have no ability to functionally regulate their emotions, and I worry about them watching these animes because I bet they'll do the same thing, right? Like the brain has a tendency to fill in what is around you, and people become like what they watch, what they see, what they're around, right?
Yeah.
It's just how it is, and so I worry about people watching anime, man, because I think it's gonna mess with their ability to control their emotions. I think things are gonna get amped up.
Yeah, but then I was thinking, man, you got like Shirley Temple movies, because my mom used to love those. I mean, they're obviously meant to be movies, but like you watch them and the little kid's like, it's like so exaggerated, but like I feel like those generations were more capable of emotionally regulating, even if they were exposed to that kind of stuff as a child. And like clowns,
Sure.
right? Clowns used to be a big thing, right? And they're like, whoa, 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 honk, honk. And they're like, ha, 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 ha. Right? But then as you get older, they're able to.
Such a good impression.
Thank you. That's my clown. But I mean, right? Like they big old floppy shoes and they trip over nothing. And it's obvious that they're just intentionally tripping over nothing. But and it's meant for children. And then as they get older, I think the problem is it's more societal. We have allowed people.
There's definitely
we've set it up. We've set it up to where you don't have to then understand. There's a break, right? Like you don't have to understand. You need to have emotional regulation, while maybe this entertainment doesn't teach you this, but you have to have it. We've almost taken that, like we keep extending adolescence later and later and later and later to where eventually just you never have to grow up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of these.
Oh man, I went to a teacher conference where they said we have evidence that puberty begins earlier and lasts later now than it did before.
Yep,
right?
I think it's true.
And I'm worried about it because like me and my buddy both immediately thought, well, that's bullshit, right? Like we both immediately thought, well, what do you mean it lasts? People are just more immature, right? I think that's what you're trying to
That's
get
what they're
at.
getting at, yeah.
Would,
it's not the physical development that takes longer.
Exactly. Yes.
It's
like hair starts growing on your ball sack when it starts growing on your ball sack. And the physical changes out, but the maturity, the getting out of that awkward stage is later. Because we're failing as a society. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, we keep lowering standards so that more and more people feel good about themselves. Yeah, it's like it's kind of why.
Oh, had an issue with that too. We were talking about. So in Florida, you have Bright Futures, where if you get a certain score on the SAT and you have a certain GPA and a certain level of community service, you get either a 50%, 75%, or full ride college paid for tuition. Right. So it's a good deal.
Yeah.
For those that it's called Bright Futures because if you do well in school, in high school, then you go on to college paid for you. They've changed it now to where you can take a class called AP Seminar, and it's a 2-year class. It is notoriously fairly simple, right? So for one of the years, you have to write 2 papers and give 2 speeches, both of which are 10 minutes. One of the speeches is a group speech, right? So you do it with 2 other people. That's it. That's the class,
That's dumb.
right? If you do that class, you can negate most of the other criteria, the SAT portion, I believe, and then you get to have the full ride. I am against that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose I was told the reason they're doing it is because they have money that they are not giving out that they want to give out to people to go to college. Cool. If you have the money, that's fine. I'm not making policy. I might suspect there might be better uses, but whatever. But I was told this, and I went, ugh, right? And of course, my principal is like, oh, well, I don't want to talk about whether you believe it or not. 2 of my kids are going to college because of it that wouldn't be able to otherwise. And it's like, all right, cool, man. But
I grew up in a poor-ass family. I'm talking poor. Because my dad was a preacher. We never had big churches. They always sacrificed for God. Poor. I got good grades. I made sure that I got good enough grades that they worked it out to where I got, and this is before there was no government stuff, like the big government stuff that now, like I would have easily gotten.
Yeah.
I got a Pell Grant. I got some sort of scholarship that was like a work.
I got Pell Grants too.
Okay.
Pell Grants are the fuel for the poor families.
Yes.
Right? Like that's how you get
I did get another scholarship on top of that basically paid me like an absurd amount to work at the library. So I got paid like $2,000 a semester or $3,000 to work like 5-10 hours a week, and doing almost nothing in a library. And so, but I mean, and then there was something else I did that I could earn. Anyway, I got to where I was making a little bit of money on top of it. There's enough that I could focus on school for the most part. But that was before. I mean, now they have if you graduate with a C in high school, you basically can get the government to pay. If you know how to use the system at all, you can get everything paid for. And they've also, and that's this universities realize they can get all this free money if they just lower the standards. And so it's like they're trying not to get people to fail, no matter how hard they're trying not to pass. And it was funny because.
I suppose.
Go ahead.
If the issue is that you have this money that needs to get given out, and you want it to be spent on people getting further education. Like the problem is that they're not doing well enough on the standardized
Hmm.
tests, right? Like, so
They're not earning the money, basically.
either the tests are inappropriately fixated on things that are not relevant, or
Which is
we
probably
are
part of it.
failing to teach to the test,
Yeah.
right? So the right thing to do, assess, is the test the actual thing that we want them to know? If it is, then you got to get the standards going,
Yeah.
right? It's just how it is. Um, Not find some workaround, right? I
I
really
agree.
dislike the work, because it now we have two avenues, neither of which are good, right? Both of which create problems, and
Yeah.
I just fix the direct route, right?
Well, it's
That's all.
it's the idea that everybody has to have. It's not that you earn this. It used to be you would earn a college. That's why nobody cares about a college degree. You do not get a job because of a college degree anymore, because they have taken away. You have to have a certain level of intelligence, certain level of work ethic,
Yeah.
certain level of fun. Like they've taken that down to such a degree that having a college. I was going to say found while I was cleaning up the other, like maybe a week ago, a paper I wrote as a high school senior for a history course. And it was about 15 pages or something. I was reading it and I was comparing it to some of the stuff I've read from undergraduate stuff from some people that I know in the industry and stuff like that. I am writing circles around these motherfuckers. People who have graduated
Oh, dude,
college.
I know. I
In
know.
high school, I was writing like so much. My writing was so much, and I was like, "That's just how far the stand." It's not like I am. Oh, look at me! It was like I just think the standards of what they force you to learn, because you learn
Yeah.
through. The other thing is you learn through failure. You learn through standards being enforced and being like, "Hey, you didn't do this right. Here's what you can do to change that." I remember when I was in college, I had a journalism professor, and he kicked off. He was like, "I'm treating you like top tier editors treat their writers." And he was like, a page into a 10-page essay, he'd be like, "I'm bored, rewrite, won't finish." I mean, he was like, "This is shit. I'm not reading it." And he would like do stuff and put, he would give you, and basically you had to work and learn to get to where he would grade you. I mean, you could redo it. It was not like, "Oh, you failed, you're done." He was like, "Redo, I'll regrade it, but you got to give me something I want to read."
Yeah.
And and I learned so much in that course. I only got like a B plus in that course, right? And so it wasn't like I aced or anything, but that's because. But I learned by the end I was getting A's because I took, once you kind of get your ass beat, and if you don't go, "I'm supposed to be better already," like I think a lot of people just can't handle being told like you're not already the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And so it's fascinating just seeing how people can't communicate through
Yeah.
almost any meaningful way. Of course, didn't you get in? Go ahead.
For my philosophy class, what I do is I have two papers,
Mhm.
one per quarter, because it's only a semester long class.
Go ahead and tell your story. I'm gonna pee, so it won't be long.
Yeah. I have them write the assignment, and I basically tell them ahead of time it's not going to be good. This is the first time you're writing a philosophy paper. There's no way it's going to be any good, so don't feel pressured to to knock it out of the park right out of the bat. It's fine. And then after they submit it, of course I say, "Oh well, it is not good. Here's everything that's wrong with it. Redo it, start to finish, right from a blank page. Just redo it, make it actually good this time." And then the second assignment is pretty much the same, right? I almost always give it back saying, "Nope, not good, fix it." And then they get graded more on the changes that they make than the actual first submission. Um, that's pretty much it. That's all I.
Solid work. Solid work. I thought there was more to that story.
Go team.
Yeah, go team. Sorry, I thought there was more to that. I'm back though. I'm back. I'm back.
Good.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I just feel like, and then there was basically a course in my history when I was doing undergraduate history, and there was another class that had really high writing requirements, and the guy was just a hard ass. And you felt like, man, he was trying to be a little bit of a hard ass, but
Sure.
it was their course. It was a like junior, senior level course. And the intent was, this is supposed to make you to where we trust that you can actually write. If you get through this course, this is the hard one. This is teaching you how to write. I just feel like a lot of that's been watered down so much now that they don't want people failing, and it's
Agreed.
like you have to set standards for people to meet them. And I think there was even a study showing this, that like students, they could take the same students, and depending on what the expectations were of the class and the standards, the same students could excel and would get way better and do better on classes with higher expectations than classes that gave them lower expectations, just let them kind of just do whatever.
Yeah.
Is because people rise to the occasion. And also, not everybody's meant to be a scholar, right? Like that's not in
That's
everybody's
called
purview.
the Pygmalion effect, by the way. That's what that one's called.
The Pygmalion
Effect. Yep, Pygmalion effect. If you genuinely expect people to do well, they tend to do better than if you don't. Right? It's just how it goes. If they are aware that you genuinely expect them to do well, they do better.
That's interesting.
Even if it's just a little bit, they do better.
I'm gonna have to try to remember, because I like that, because I think that's I think that applies to a lot of other things that are going on in our society, like just across the board. That we have lowered expectations to such a degree. It's more about like, oh, you have to do well. Just regardless of the we're not gonna try to push you to become better. We're just gonna let you stay in the slop. And it's problematic. I don't know.
I have for my government class, we finished with the U.S. citizenship test, right? I think I told you this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's
you did.
their final is the U.S. citizenship test. Some fantastic answers from the students that went on with a basketball scholarship, right? So you can probably tell where this is going just based on that. But would you care to? Do you know a state that borders Canada by chance? Would you care to venture a guess about a state?
Are you asking me,
Canada?
or is that the question?
I am.
Oh,
I am.
Michigan.
Perfect. Great. Would you say England is one of those?
No, I think
Would you go with England?
No, I would not go with No.
How about a state that borders Mexico? Would you care
Texas.
to
Texas.
Fantastic. Would you go with Guam?
No, I would not. I would not go with an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Would you? Do you know which ocean is on the west coast?
Yeah,
of the
Pacific
United
Ocean,
States?
right? Yeah.
You wouldn't say it's the East Ocean?
The East? Oh, on the West Coast? They're like
on the West Coast? Dead
boy,
ass.
boy, that is wild, bro. That is crazy.
Yeah. Let's see. Who's your governor? No, who's the father of our country? Would you care to venture a guess as to who
George
they're
Washington,
looking for as
right?
the father? It is. It's George Washington. He said God.
Well, I mean,
I loved that.
in all things, I guess, is the true.
Loved it. Who's your state representative? Which for us, it depends on where you live, right? So, like, if you lived where I live is Corey Mills, but he said John. John is
wing it. You throw out a base.
I respect that effort.
And John, don't try to play with me. John.
Right. There were some good ones in there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do wonder. So here's my question. We always see those videos that like people go out and they ask people on the street pretty basic ass questions, right?
Yeah.
And part of me goes, I believe that there's a lot of dumb people that are really that bad out there, just because what I read on Twitter all the time. I'm like, no, there's definitely a high percentage of people who are actually stupid. But then there's also part of me that doesn't trust it, because I do know that they edit out like people who are just getting it's not interesting if you show 45 people getting it right for every one that gets it wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder, I wish there's a way to do. I mean, I guess we do. We have standardized testing, and we're failing miserably on those. Like, we're dropping every year. We're dumber than we were the year before. So I guess we do have that to a degree. But I would love to have someone actually go out on the streets and like see just how dumb we are, but not like edit.
Know that it's authentic.
Yeah, like have an actual study do that. Yeah, because I do kind of wonder. Because I mean, there's some out there that are. It's like, who fought in the Civil War, and they are just like the Chinese and the Russians, and it's like, boy, are we really doing that bad educationally? Is that which always makes me go, fucking defund the Department of Education. What have they done? Like,
I've said it before. It need teaching needs to not be the backup thing that housewives do when they're bored.
yeah.
It can't be the case. It's fucking us, man.
Mm, no, I agree. Oh, man, what was it? I was doing research for a paper I was writing this week, and it had something to do with psychology or something along those, like, or maybe like, we've talked about this before, where like psychologists and therapists are like vastly women, right?
Yeah, 95% of PhDs are awarded to women in psychology right
Yeah,
now. So
and
push
like
that forward
it
30
was like
years.
that. It was like every paper was written
Uh-huh.
from by a woman, and you could tell from a woman's perspective, right? It was very, how do the people feel about this, and how do, instead of you're
The
like,
natural caregiver tendencies that are generally found,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
and I just
It's unfortunately how it is,
there,
right?
well, that's why it's so important that we need balance. Like we're not saying, I don't think either one of us are like, women, boo. It's just
No,
like
by all means, have
it's
women
good.
in the field that support the women's perspectives
Uh
that
huh.
I can't understand,
Uh
right?
huh.
Or I might struggle to. No worries at all. But a lot of these veterans that are coming home with PTSD, I don't
That's
think are very well catered to by just these random PhD graduates that,
it's a
have
big issue.
no idea what aggression I would say really feels like, like um,
Yes.
what intent to kill feels like, what any of that stuff feels like. I think there are some things that the human brain can abstract to
Mm-hmm.
and figure out without having gone through them. But I do think in many things it helps to have had experiences and to, be able to put yourself there. And I think that the current plethora of female PhDs in psychology are going to struggle with the PTSD because what I found is very often they'll just look at the DSM, find the this is what I'm supposed to do. Okay, here's what I'm supposed to do, right? And
Yeah.
it's like that's not fucking helpful,
Well, that's
right?
isn't
These
that
are
a problem?
human
Doing a
beings.
checklist instead
Yeah.
of processing the person in front of them and really trying to figure them out. They're just like, okay, I have to give you some sort of, assessment,
Yeah.
and I need to sound like I know what I'm talking about. So check, check, check. Here it is. Here's
Yeah.
some drugs. Here's some pills.
Yeah.
Go take some pills and be
And I
drugged out of
have
your
no
mind.
idea if it tracks, but I will say that I've had two or three different students graduate who wanted to pursue psychology, all of whom were female,
Mhm.
um, and all of whom were the most book smart students I've had, right? Uh, but they all worked the exact same way. I must take notes and I must write it until it sticks in my brain, right? And I suppose I imagine for a therapist, right? Like for a research psychologist, that's great.
Yeah.
That's what we want. For a therapist psychologist, which is what I think most of them want to do, I think that's actually really bad, right? Because it's
Hmm.
like you're not able to, in a human to human interaction, sort of figure another person out. Because you're not going to be able to just write the notes, and the notes aren't going to help you with the person in front of you that is struggling with flashbacks of grenade explosions and shit,
Yeah. Well,
right? Like,
psychologists tend to be pretty bad in relationships too. Actually,
I think so. Yeah,
like they. I
I
mean,
think so.
I'm trying to remember. I'm almost positive there was a study that I did see, like an actual, real, good, solid study that did show that like it's almost a problem because they trust their training too much, and they go
Yeah.
back to
Oh
it,
my God.
and
Yeah.
they just like and they end up using it to manipulate, and they're not even, but they don't use it on themselves nearly as much as they should, and so it's like it's just really unbalanced, and so they're just always almost like it's
It
always the
was
other
a
person's
joke.
fault. Here's all the things that are wrong with
Yeah.
you without any self-reflection.
I think you're 100% right. It was always a joke at UF and FSU in the philosophy program that philosophers were the most unethical people, right?
Hmm.
Like deeply unethical, even though they're the ones studying ethics,
Yeah.
right? It was like there was one in grad school who had a wife that he was cheating on because he got a kick from going to philosophy club that was for the undergraduate students and being the big dog there, right? Like he could, imagine being a grad
Mm,
student in philosophy, showing up to an undergraduate
yeah.
philosophy club, right? You got the biggest dick there, no matter what they do,
Right.
right? You've got to counter it, right? And so you show up to there, you're the big dog. Other people look up to you. All of a sudden, the hot girl over there wants to be with you, and all of
Right.
a sudden, this dude is cheating on his wife that he lives with, right? For this random hot undergraduate, and it's like, dude, you want to be an ethics professor,
Yeah.
right? Like.
How do you
Oh my
not
God.
yes, apply it to yourself? Yes. No, I
Oh
agree.
my God. But I think that that's how it is, right? Like
Yeah.
the with the psychology, the people that are the worst at doing it probably are the ones that know the most about it.
All right. I wonder how much that applies to other, like government, law, a
Yeah.
lot of other things. Like people get so head knowledge or so like up here that they struggle to bring it down into actionable, real, meaningful stuff. Like it's too theoretical, right? Like I think that's one of the biggest problems I find with other people that I've been dealing with in PhD level stuff is a lot of blah blah blah, high words, high concept, not a lot of like this will actually apply. That's why a lot of they don't care if you have a PhD on yours as much as they do if you have 10 years of experience because 10 years of experience shows like you've had to do the real of course people lie so much on their resumes they could failed for 10 years but they'll put how great they've done and then you have a whole nother issue but I do wonder how much that applies on a regular basis that sometimes there has to be that connective between the theoretical and the brainy and the imaginative into the real
Yeah.
applicable what can actually work.
Yeah. You're right. I wonder where that connective tissue comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hate to say that it's just IQ, but that's my suspicion. Is it's like, it's just like how generally smart you are enough to maybe it's internalized intelligence, like knowledge of yourself to
Yeah,
know that you are
that's what I was
failing
thinking.
at.
I wonder if it's a self-awareness issue because there's just some
Yeah.
very intelligent people, but they have
Yeah.
no self-awareness. It's like it's a different form of intelligence that needs to be applied. And I
Yeah.
think maybe it's kind of like patience. It's one of those things that you learn. Like if you have to be the easier we make it to stay inside yourself as a society and that you're great. You're wonderful. You don't ever have to
Yeah.
change. You don't have to, the more we make it like that, the more that applies and it grows further and further where they're never making that
It's
connection.
it's remarkable with the kids. The one switching moment that I think really happens with many of the kids at the school that I'm trying to really focus on is like you are okay, but you're not good enough yet to
Mm-hmm.
get the things that you want, right? Like, um, but just because you are not yet good enough doesn't mean you won't be good enough. It doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
anything about it. You are, beloved by God, so on,
Yeah.
right? A worthy human being, but you're an asshole, right? You are an asshole, right? You don't have to be an asshole. You are
Right.
choosing every day to be an asshole. Okay? It is in your power to change that. It's not something in your DNA that is like asshole.
Yeah, right. Unless it is like a psychological. Some people, like the mass
Oh yeah, there's
murderers.
some that I
You
don't
know.
say this to. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. There are some that I can tell that there's something wrong with you. I'm not.
Yeah. 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 And
When I watched you walk down the hallway, kick another girl's bottle over, she goes, "Well, thanks," and then you just go and keep walking. I got nothing for you, man. Good luck
yeah.
with your life. Good
Yeah.
luck with your life, buddy.
It is interesting, and I wonder how much. I don't know. It's frustrating because I do get it. Like I was going to talk about this a little, just in my own experience. I was like,
Yeah.
it feels like I couldn't decide if being on social media is net good or bad for me because I do feel like the more I'm on it, the more I just my opinion of humanity and my willingness to
Yeah.
believe that we can function
Yeah.
drops.
Yeah.
But I'm like, is that just because I'm actually aware? Is it I'm aware of how many stupid people and like on day-to-day interactions you just shake somebody's hand like, oh, they're a nice person. You don't realize if put into a serious situation they're going to be a dumb
Right.
fuck, right? Or you don't know how that works. And so I'm like, is it good that I have more the tree of the knowledge of good and
Tree of
evil,
knowledge
right?
of good and
We're
evil.
back to that.
Yeah.
It's like, is it better to just live your life and have hope for or just be like, man, we are humans are screwed, man. I don't know.
I was definitely I think the only time I've ever struggled with actual depression was like for like maybe a month, maybe like a month and a half. So not long, not serious, but it was after being cooped up during COVID, um, where I only saw my girlfriend and we were having a really rough time, and every interaction with another human being I got
Was
was
negative.
online.
Yeah.
right? And it was so negative, and it really really catered to sort of a negative outlook overall, and just a really holistic bad,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then since I've gone out and now am doing much more, in person, I teach at an in-person high school. I go to an in-person gym. I don't just work out at home. Um, all sorts of outside stuff with other people. Um, I don't know. It's a bit demoralizing when, you challenge other people to be better and they're like, hey, go fuck yourself. But
Yeah.
that's such a, it's much better overall than every interaction online,
Yeah.
where, you know, yeah,
No, I get that. I wonder how much it helps that we do stuff like this on Discord, because I do think that helps
yeah,
me. I think we
I'm
have good
sure, right?
interactions. Me, you,
Yeah,
Evil, some of the people we play. I mean, I feel like we have good like. There's a
yeah,
little. It's not quite the same as being in person, but it's definitely more personable and in human, real
yeah,
natural interaction as opposed to social media that somehow people just like their brains
that's true.
change and they just like
Well,
you
I
know
hadn't thought of it, but in that 1 month, a lot of the group that I was hanging out with, I felt was being disingenuous and behaving poorly, and I was struggling with wanting to be better and also wanting to keep my friends, and
yeah
I think that I wasn't having these sort of positive online interactions like we are having with, like the guys we play rematch with right
yeah
now, right? Like it's a positive thing. I wasn't having any of that. So I think you might be right that this is at least a salve, right? Maybe a
yeah
bandage to cover the wound.
hmm
It's a good,
yeah.
but
And I guess I should say I still have like AJ will come over and we'll smoke cigars or whatever.
yeah,
I still have like father I can go up and have a bit of a
yeah,
conversation with. My sister comes over once a week. I talk to her,
awesome.
catch up, So I still have human interaction, I guess, that like does tie me into real humans. I mean, I
Yeah,
do need to get out more. It's just my physical stuff makes
I
any
do.
kind of stuff. But anyway, I do wonder how that works. So yeah, it was just a thought I've been having for myself. I'm like, I'm wondering how much of this. I, it's the argument of just, is it good to have information at
Yeah.
any or does it fuck you up? Like, dude, this.
I think we're in the grain of salt territory again,
Yeah,
right? Like you got to take that social media information with
that's
the
true.
grain of salt of it's curated the worst,
Yeah,
right? Like, um, just like being in person, shaking hands at a Christian school is curated for the best.
right.
Like I guarantee you, these people get in the car and like, "Fuck you, get out of my way,"
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're not. Hey, how are you? How was your weekend? Oh my gosh,
Yeah, I guess that's the
right?
point
It's
I'm
like
making. Is like
fake.
maybe you sadly see more of people, the darker side of people, or
Yeah,
maybe the real side of people
yeah.
that you wouldn't get if they're just seeing you at the oh hey, oh, that is wonderful. I'm so happy to hear them. They're like immediately get in
But
the
you're
car and they're
but
texting
you're
like, can you
smart
believe
enough
this?
to know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You're
yeah.
smart enough in meeting this person that's just overly kind, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just at the start. I just have to say, you look amazing today.
Yeah,
I don't know, you just look incredible. And they're like that every day. You and I are smart enough to
to
know,
gauge it. Yeah,
you know,
but is that yeah?
why are you faking?
Maybe
Like
that's
why are
our
you
current.
faking?
Like, okay, so not to be braggadocious, but I believe. I mean, we both have high intellects. This is not being. I mean, I've been testing. I would say you're right on par with me. So wherever you are, you're two up for me, two
Well,
dead
I
on,
will tell
whatever.
you,
We're on that same.
if people like what we're saying, we've projected confidence. If they don't like it, we've projected arrogance, and there's nothing we can do to change that. So
Right.
either it's true that we can back it up, it comes from a place of strength, it's confidence, or it's insecurity, blah, 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 and
Yeah.
that is up to the beholder, truly. So, go for it. I don't think it's
I just wonder if we
braggadocious.
recognize more stuff, and so it is like a burden on us. Like we can tell. Like I think we can read when people are being fake or not being genuine. Like there's something else going on.
Mostly, yeah.
A little bit not necessarily like completely, but a little bit better. So other people are like, oh
Yeah.
wow, aren't they so nice? And we're like, you thought that was real? Like
Right.
is that our like it's kind of the curse of just being a little bit sharper? It's like
I don't know.
we
I don't
know
know.
that society's maybe not quite as
Yeah, it's certainly worth it.
yeah
I certainly, if I could pick, I would rather be
Oh
as
yeah,
I am, noticing
I
the
agree.
things. You know what? I gave the senior speeches at chapel one day for 5 of the kids that were graduating. They wanted me to sing their praises. So I did, and one of the kids, not even one of the ones I talked to, came up afterwards, Sergio. He said, "Hey, I was really impressed with your speeches. You're very perceptive, right? Like I notice things about people."
And you know some
And
too. Yeah,
he
he's like, yeah,
and he
yeah,
literally just said, "You're very perceptive." I said, "I appreciate that." And then Sergio was the valedictorian. He gave his speech at graduation, to which I couldn't help but notice, "Hey, Sergio," afterward, quite a perceptive speech there. You kind of pointed
yeah.
to, I was quite impressed, right? It's
I'm glad.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's all. That I bet you that felt so good because you know you had a part. I guarantee you, he was more
Yeah,
emboldened by hearing what you said and said,
right.
I took a bit of your style and was like, I am going to use some of my perception to.
Yeah.
That's
Don't be
that's what you go
ashamed
for.
of noticing things that
Yeah.
others don't, right? Show them the things that they're not noticing and let them get better from that, right? Give
Mm-hmm.
them the knowledge they don't have. It just works out really well. And then if they like you, then you're confident, and if they don't, then you're again. There's nothing you can do to change any of it.
Yeah. No, I get it. And you know what? I will say, I bet from time to time we probably do because
Delve into arrogance.
yes, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we also. But what I like about us is we both are like, yeah, we do. Like it's there's a little bit of self awareness.
Right? Give me a week, and I will look back and realize.
I was gonna say it's like it takes me a second, but I will
Yes.
eventually. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bonding. This is true bonding. But yeah, no, I agree. It's been an hour and 12 minutes. What do you think? I think we've done it. I think we've done good. We've given people stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
What do you think?
What do you
Give
think,
us
Evil?
Yeah. What evil? You know. No, he's brisketing. So actually, no, he's buying
Probably.
furniture. He told me what he was planning on doing was going to buy furniture. So he's glad you were here for it, Evil. You know, it made us really feel like there's at least 3. To be honest, probably only missed about 4 or 5 sentences. So.
It depends. I think we can occasionally tap into some topics where he's like, "Ooh, I got this."
Yeah, exactly. You see the eyes light up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope. Listen, everybody. I hope you enjoy it. If you have something you actually, I don't know if you made this far. If you have something that you actually want us to talk about, put in the comments. Don't go into Discord. Screw Discord. Put in the comments of YouTube. I will read it, and if it's manageable to talk about, we will try to talk about it. I mean, you know, don't ask me to do something that's going to take 5 months of research.
Why are white people so inferior to black people? Why are Asians the pinnacle race? Why?
You know, yeah. And also just something that doesn't take 5 months of research for me to, you know, feel like I could adequately approach it. But in general, if you have some interesting topics and you were like, oh, this would be fun to hear them talk about, throw it out there. But yeah, so I hope you guys have a blessed week. I'll try to get some YouTube shorts up so everything's in bite size and maybe more people will see it and hear it and all that. It's just work. I just got to do the work.
Yeah.
All right, y'all have a blessed rest of your week. I'm gonna start the music now and then kiss 'em.
Kiss them.